Hello and welcome to Wayne Sports Network. I'm Demikoff alongside Ilian Nunez. On this show, we discuss all the big sport news in the town of Wayne, and we shall recap the previous week and preview the upcoming week in Wayne sports. So far in the world of football, the four different high schools have each had successful years, in which Wayne Hills and Wayne Valley are both 3-1, and DePaul and Passaic County Tech are both 4-0. But first, let's start off with our Wayne Hills Patriots. So, how do you think the season has gone so far?
So we're 3-1 right now. So I think we started off a better season than we had last year. We started off very strong. We beat the number 6 ranked team in Nevada, and I think we overall been having a good weeks of practice, good summer. We've had a really good camp where we went. We've had low-key had a really good season.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think even the stats of our different players can show that, as Mikey Fitzsimmons has thrown for 587 yards and 6 touchdowns through the first 4 games. Now, what do you think about our receivers?
So our receivers right now, we have Aaron Verrey receiving for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jack Monacera, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. We have a rushing leader, Johnny Mongelli, for 251 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I definitely think so far it's been a very special year. You know, as you mentioned, being the 6th ranked team in Nevada, and then coming back, obviously a tough loss against West Essex, but they're a historically very good program. And, coming back after Vegas, just a tough loss. And then, back-to-back wins against the Patterson Kennedy Knights and the Nutley Raiders. So what do you think, how do you think we showed poise in those 2 games as a comeback from last year?
I mean, we took that step forward as a team. We knew we couldn't go with having a 2-8 record again. So I think us taking that step forward this season is really helping us persevere through the season.
Yeah, I definitely think the coaches would definitely agree with you about taking that step forward. And I think 3-1 compared to 2-8 is definitely
a much better record, yeah.
So far a step forward, as tonight they say is a very big step forward as we take on the Caldwell Chiefs, which they are 0-3, but don't be fooled by the 0-3 record. They are historically, in the last 10 years, one of the best programs in North Jersey, arguably, being one of the best teams in Group 2. So what do you think about Caldwell heading into tonight?
I just think having this 1 week of practice that we had, I think we've come together as a team where we know what we have to do. We have to take more steps forward because now we have Valley next week. We're previewing Valley next week. I think if we take this step forward this week against Caldwell, I think we're coming out and we're going to be able to have the spirit to go against Valley next week.
Yep. And now, speaking of Wayne Valley, we also have stats on them, as we will now talk about the Indians. So how do you think the Indians have done so far, as they have the same record as us, also 3-1?
The Indians, in my opinion, they have a really good record, same as us. They came out a really good win against PV, which surprised a lot of people in New Jersey. I wanted to talk about the receiving leaders. Luke Rubino, 232 yards, 1 touchdown. Darius Rivers, 232 yards, 2 touchdown. And then you have Eli Estevez, 324 yards and 3 touchdowns rushing.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think they've had a special year. I mean, their win last week against Paramus, 41-7, which is definitely some great numbers to put up. And you can't forget about Danny Frulo, quarterback. What did you say about him?
He passed for 913 yards and 6 touchdowns. So he's almost there making 1,000 yards in just 3 to 4 games.
Yeah. As they also have a big game tonight against Hackensack, who is 2-2. Who do you have in that game?
Thinking that Valley's 3-1, if they're putting up the same numbers that they have right now, using the star players that they have, I think Valley could come out with a win, but you never know. It's always something different with football.
Yeah, I think Hackensack, definitely a rough start for them, so I think Wayne Valley definitely comes out on top. And I just think overall, the Indians have showed, I don't think they were a great team either last year. Obviously, probably maybe better than us, but I do think they have taken a step up as they have the same record as us and will most likely get a dub tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
So now that we've talked about the 2 rivals in Wayne, we will now discuss the powerhouse DePaul Catholic Spartans and the dominant PCTI Bulldogs.
Welcome back to the Wayne Sports Network. Now that we talk about the rivals of Wayne Hills and Wayne Valley, we're moving on to focus on the DePaul Spartans and the PCTI Bulldogs. They are both coming out undefeated with 4-0 records. So discussing DePaul, they came out beating Pope John, Good Counsel in Maryland, I'm pretty sure. Really good win out of state. Cardinal Hayes in New York, really strong win out of state game again, and Seton Hall Prep last week. I think What do you think right now about how they're looking right now, sort of like player-wise?
I think DePaul is absolutely stacked. I mean, you have Des Jones committed to Ohio State, Elijah Burris committed to Notre Dame, and Nolan James committed to Boston College. I mean, that right there, I mean, that's all you need to hear. I mean, you have three Power 5 committed players on this DePaul Spartans team. I mean, they're undefeated, and I think it's going to stay that way all the way until December.
I wanted to talk about junior Derek Zamet, their quarterback. He's passing for 941 yards with 12 touchdowns
Very impressive.
to either Des Jones or Elijah Burris, who they both have well over 100 yards plus, with Des having 361 with 5 touchdowns and Elijah having 299 with 5 touchdowns. Nolan James, he has about 682 rushing yards with 5 touchdowns. And I think fairly enough, having that, like, the stack that they've really been performing this year.
Yeah, I mean, you look though, and you name some of those runs there. You know, like Cardinal Hayes, Good Counsel. Like those are teams that are very good in like not just their states, like the country of the United States of America. I mean, you got to talk about those wins. I mean, those are like wins
Really
that,
strong wins.
Yeah, really strong wins that you will remember for a long time. I mean, if you go to DePaul, I mean,
All right, so Troy, I wanted to talk about Paramus Catholic. They're 2-1. DePaul's playing them tonight. What are your thoughts on the game?
you know, I think DePaul would definitely go in there and take care of business like they've been doing the last 4 weeks. I mean, you name those players before. I mean, that's all you need right there. I mean, that's just 3 players you have to worry about stopping. You know, you can't account for every single person on the field. So you worry too much about them, then somebody else from DePaul could come out of the shadows and have a big game. I mean, that's just how it goes.
And I think you have to also talk about the teams that DePaul's played. Cardinal Hayes, which is a really good national team.
Yes.
So I think personally, I think they will come out with the win, with a very strong victory.
Yeah.
So now let's discuss PCTI season. They also have a 4-0 record.
Yep.
What are your thoughts right now on like the players that they have and how they've been playing the past few weeks?
You know, like again, I think PCTI is another really good, historically good program. You know, in Wayne, North Jersey. I mean, they have a really big game tonight against the Ridgewood Maroons. But you got to talk about some of these players, like Gabe Miles, quarterback. He's thrown for 7 touchdowns and 594 yards. I mean, those are pretty good stats through the first 4 weeks.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to talk about their receiving leaders. Joel Perez, 227 yards with 2 touchdowns. Ian McDuffie, 220 yards with 4 touchdowns.
And then you can't forget about Noah Foxworth, you know, rushing for 204 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, definitely a good player there, too.
And that definitely shows how they're a 4-0 team. They're a really strong team. Also, they're also playing a 4-0 team today. We're playing Ridgewood.
Yeah, one of the games of the week in North Jersey.
Yeah, it's a really big game. So I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a really good match. But I think PCTL will come out with the win again.
I think it's gonna come down to matchups. I mean, they really have to utilize their weapons tonight, or else, because you know the offense Ridgewood runs, it's the wing T. So if you can't stop that, it's gonna be a long night for PCTI. But, you know, if they utilize their weapons correctly and play defense correctly, I think they can definitely come out with a win tonight. But it's a toss-up game.
Yep. So this is it for today. We talked about the upcoming games for the 4 teams in Wayne and the top players for this week. Stay tuned for the next week. I'm Ilian and Troy with the Wayne Sports Network.